I'm super excited about today's video for a couple of reasons. One, it forced me to kind of do a deep dive into what's trending right now, aka what should you be picking up when you're outsourcing right now, because these are the things that people are looking for. And secondly, super excited because this is a collab with people who have taken my course on how to grow your reselling YouTube channel. So if you want to learn more about the fashion trends as Poshmark has stated it, so if you want to learn more about what Poshmark is considering today's fashion trends, then stay tuned.
Won't nobody love you the way they should. Won't nobody check up on you, make sure you're good. Won't nobody check those body trimmings for your neck.
Hi everyone, my name is Becky Park. I'm a part-time reseller, full-time high school choir teacher, and I also have a course on how to grow your reselling YouTube channel. It's something that I offer either just as a course by itself that you can purchase by clicking on the link down below. You can kind of take the course in your own time and just, learn the way that you would with any online course. Or I do sometimes offer a mentorship group that goes along with it, which means that you and I and other people who have signed up in the same month as you, we will meet once a week for a month for 4 weeks to talk about the course and grow from one another and learn from one another. It is something that I've put on hold for the time being just because I have gotten really busy, so I really don't anticipate the next mentorship group happening until maybe August, if even that. So if you were looking forward to the next group, I don't know, let me know down in the comments below. Maybe I can squeeze it in earlier than later, but right now it's looking like it's gonna happen in August. That being said, one of the things that I do with the people in the YouTube reselling course is we have a Facebook group that we're all a part of, and we like to do collaboration videos. And so today's collaboration video is something that the last mentorship group thought of, and that was kind of a thrift haul bingo challenge, if you will. I'm going to show you the bingo card right here, and it would consist of trends that Poshmark talked about in like their notifications bar at the top of the news feed. So every day, and I'm not the one that like compiled this list, actually members of the Facebook group did. It was mainly Crystal and Chloe, so thank you guys for helping. And basically what they did was they looked at, what different trends would pop up every day and kept track of them for me. I think maybe you can find that information on Poshmark's blog as well, and who knows where their information is coming from when it comes to compiling these trends as like the trendy ones. Who knows, right? But we thought it would be fun if we made a bingo card out of them and everyone did a thrift haul and we kind of show you what kinds of things we were able to find that matched with those trends. I will have everyone's videos who are participating linked down in the description below. So after you watch my video, definitely make sure that you check out their videos because it's going to be really cool to see the different takes that everyone took on these different trends. And we'll kind of have a little contest going on within our Facebook group to see who hit bingo and who found a lot of, these trends that were listed on the bingo card. We did try to keep it somewhat friendly to those who were not clothing sellers because we do have some people who primarily sell hard goods in the Facebook group. But for me, it's going to be all clothing related. And for most of us, it really is going to be clothing related. I will also say that I have not actually had time to go out and thrift. I have been insanely busy at my work as a high school choir teacher, and I've been insanely sick. I am sick right now, actually. I don't know. I just got better from being sick a couple weeks ago, and then something hit me really hard, let's say like 2 days ago, and so I'm barely keeping it together. There's a lot of congestion right here, but what I am going to do is take you through all of these trends. I do have a couple items next to me that apply, but what I'm going to do is actually talk to you about the items, what to be on the lookout for, what these trends even mean, and hopefully provide a little bit more context to the kinds of things that you should be on the lookout for because these things are trending. So if you're ready, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you are not subscribed to my channel yet, and let's dive right in. So the first trend that we're going to talk about today is neon. Why neon? I think it's for a couple reasons. One, I think we are like emerging from a really dark and dreary period of our lives, not just with the weather, not just like coming out of winter, but also just with COVID and with what's happening in the world. Like we are just feeling dark. We're in a dark place. And I think these bright pops of neon color, whether it is the whole piece itself is just one big neon color, or whether it's splashes of neon colors, this is a huge trend right now. And I think it's one of those things that hopefully just kind of fill us with a little bit of joy, because who doesn't need that right now, right? Here are some examples of neon as seen, you know, on the runway, and also different examples of neon pieces being sold on Poshmark. I think they're really fun, and they're super appropriate right now too, again, because it's summer, but also for like festival season and stuff like that. So if you see very neon, bright, you know, almost obnoxious colored pieces that make your eyes water, you probably have something good on your hands. The next trend on our bingo card is Harley Davidson. Now, I do have a Harley piece here. This is something that I got in a wholesale box from a fellow reseller. It says Harley Davidson on the front in like this weird kind of retro cursive text, and then on the back it says Detroit, Harley Davidson, and then it says Michigan on the bottom. A lot of Harley Davidson stuff will have the city and state that you bought the item from, and I think that's pretty cool. I think it's kind of cool to like collect Harley Davidson pieces from all over. Obviously for like their boots and stuff, like it's not going to say, you know, Champaign, Illinois on the side of the boot or anything like that, but a lot of their tops I have found will specify where, you know, in the world that piece is from. You know, these kinds of pieces, well, this is kind of a cool piece because it's like sleeveless. It's like one of those big oversized tanks. I think this one actually could do pretty well. It does have a couple flaws. It has like a hole somewhere, not a huge one, but you know, just like a little hole. I think I could still probably list this for like 25 to 35. Oh, here's the hole. Holes are always in like the belly button of shirts. It's like, I don't know why or how that happens, but you can see right there. But yeah, I still think I could list it for like $25 to $35. It is in a men's size large. I kind of wonder if it's vintage, like it has vintage vibes. It feels very old, you know what I mean? Like the feeling of the fabric. So, you know, if you have anything Harley Davidson related, or if you come across any Harley stuff, those are definitely worth picking up. It's just been in for a while. It's going to continue to be in, and people are looking for it. Also, the lighting is awful, and it's because of the time of day, and it's because of how the light is hitting me, but I apologize if that's bothering you. Anyway, moving on. Squishmallows. This has nothing to do with clothes, and, you know, I think Squishmallows had like this huge peak, especially around the holiday season, and while to myself, I thought that the craze had kind of died down, let me show you some of these comps I found on eBay. There are comps for Squishmallows selling for like over $1,000. One I saw, it was called the Easter Squad Purple Lamb Sheep. It was a 3.5-inch clip-on mini stuffed Squishmallow, and this thing sold, it was an auction item, it sold for $1,200. This is not even one of those like full-size Squishmallows that we're talking about. This is a little clip-on Squishmallow sold for over $1,000. Insane. Other ones that I saw that apparently are super, you know, popular are like this cow. There's like a stackable cow. There's this like JSK business cat. There were only 250 of these made, I guess, and these are selling, some of them for over $2,000. Another really popular one was this Jack the Black Cat 16-inch one. So I guess part of the appeal is that there are some Squishmallows where they only made a handful of them. So if you can get your hands on one of those, holy cow, you're about to make, you know, over $1,000, which is insane. Now, I have no Squishmallows on hand. I do have this really creepy Cabbage Patch doll with lots of oh, he's like falling apart, but he's got lots of stains on his clothes. I've had this for like over 2-3 years. If you want to give me $5 for this guy, you can have him. I mean, I think he's vintage. I think he checks a lot of the boxes off when it comes to Cabbage Patch dolls, but I don't want him in my house anymore. So not really a Squishmallow, but that's what I got. That's the closest thing that I've got in my house. The next trend is Domino Effect, black and white. And I think really what they're talking about here is a more geometric black and white print. Have I sold a lot of black and white clothes? Yes, obviously, because black and white is extremely timeless and classic. Are they very geometric and what, you know, I think is like trendy as Poshmark is defining it. No, like my black and white pieces that I've sold are mainly by Talbots, but I would say it counts. I think this skirt, it's like in a black and white houndstooth. I think that's kind of Domino Effecty. But yeah, classic black and white Domino Effect if you've got anything like that or you come across it. And especially with this trend, I would say, if the brand is good as well, then I think it's a good pickup. I wouldn't pick up like Target brand black and white clothes because I don't know that that's going to cut it. The next trend that we're going to talk about is tie-dye. Tie-dye has been really popular for a while, and it's still something that people are having a lot of fun with. But I think what you want to look for is the slightly more subdued tie-dye than like the really bold and bright tie-dye that we're used to seeing from like the 70s. I think we're looking for like maybe even in more like pastel colors, just not as like, you know, it's not going to hit you like a ton of bricks type of tie-dye. I do have a couple examples in my closet of that kind of more like subtle tie-dye look. One is this t-shirt, just a graphic t-shirt that says good vibes on it, but it has like a very light, subtle tie-dye in the background. And then this Dress to Kill piece that I got the last time I went to this pop-up consignment sale in my town. Again, it's tie-dye, but it's not like hit you over the head tie-dye with like really bright colors. It is bold, but it's not like obnoxious, I would say. The next trend that we're going to talk about is cow print. I don't really get it. Like, I like cows. I don't really get the print thing, but we are seeing it, and we're seeing it on like all of the things. So, you know, I have been seeing it on shoes, which I think that seems pretty natural and normal to me. I've been also seeing it like in career wear pieces. This is where I'm like, okay, like this I feel like is a little bit of a stretch, but all right, like we're doing this. You know, for example, this Calvin Klein blazer, like, all right, that's fine. And then we're even seeing it on like going out pieces, like party pieces, like this dress by Dolls Kill. Like, I don't know. That to me is not like a, hey, let's go to the club type print, but you do you. I don't know. So if you see any clothes with cow print on it, apparently that's a thing. That is a popular thing. The next trend that we're going to talk about is crochet. And I think one thing to keep in mind is that sometimes these trends will kind of like bleed into one another. For example, like crochet, I think is definitely something that you'd also see as part of like cottagecore, or you could maybe see crochet and cow print together. I don't know. So it's not to say that these trends stand alone, but the idea of crochet or like crochet lace, this is something that I think has been popular for some time. It's still something that we're seeing today. Here are some examples of some solds that I have from my own Poshmark closet that had crochet you know, elements to it. And again, I think it is kind of important because we're kind of at the end stage of this trend, I would say. I think it is important to make sure with crochet pieces that not only is the piece really cute and trendy and, you know, just modern and current, but you also want to make sure that it's got a good brand name attached to it. Some trends really can stand alone regardless of, you know, what the brand name is. Crochet, because like I said, we're kind of getting to the end of the trend in my opinion, I think you kind of want to have both. You want to have the crochet and you want to have the brand name attached to it. The next trend that we're going to talk about, that Poshmark talked about as one of the trends to be on the lookout for, is butterflies. This, again, like not really my thing. It feels a little juvenile. But here are some examples of some pieces that I have sold, not necessarily super recently, but things that I have sold or have listed in my Poshmark closet that have butterflies on them. Basically, just anything with a fun butterfly print, I guess. I don't know. I'm not like very current or modern, so I don't get it, but that's okay. The next trend that we're going to talk about is tweed. Tweed, I think, is such a classic, timeless material. It always reminds me of Chanel, but I think tweed is one of those trends that is here for the long haul, and it's especially something that you see a lot in career pieces. Here are some examples of tweed pieces that I have sold. Again, I do think that a lot of brands can, you know, make pieces in tweed, you know, anything as low as like Forever 21 or Shein. So I think it is important when it comes to tweed to couple that fabric with, you know, good brand. Even brands like Loft is fine because Loft is well known for their career pieces. So if you've got a Loft piece that has some tweed in it, I think that can do well. It's obviously going to do a lot better than brands like Forever 21 or Shein, like I mentioned earlier. The next trend that we're going to talk about is Britney Spears. Now, for full disclosure, Poshmark did not come out and just call a trend Britney Spears.
Britney? Well, hello!
But I think when you think of Britney Spears, especially Britney Spears in the 90s and early 2000s, I think that it just kind of encapsulates a lot of the trends that Poshmark was talking about. You know, things like midriff tops, just all that kind of stuff. I think that basically you just think of Britney Spears. And what I think is really funny about Britney Spears is I feel like when I see pictures of her today, like of, you know, current day Britney Spears, she still embodies that like 90s, early 2000s fashion sense that she had back then. I don't know if you've noticed that. But anyway, you know, you want to think low rise, embellished, just anything that is 90s and early 2000s, you know, like the baby doll tees, all that kind of stuff, like the flared pants. So, you know, a few weeks ago, I sold this pair of cachet pants. They were like in a satiny white, kind of brocaded fabric. They had like a wide waistband, definitely low rise. They had like the flare at the bottom. This is exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about that is just kind of flying off the shelves right now. So if you have anything like that, plus some of these other examples of really great solds that I think definitely embody the Britney Spears spirit, this is what you want to be on the lookout for when you're in the thrift store. Kind of along those lines, any kind of bandage skirt or top, this is another trend that Poshmark let us know about. Again, I think this really harkens back to the 90s and early 2000s. I don't know how to say this brand name, but like Hervé Léger. I'm going to find someone saying it correctly.
Hervé Léger.
But this brand, I think, was extremely well known for their bandage dresses, and they also had skirts and whatnot. So anything that's in that style is definitely making a comeback and is one of those things that you want to be on the lookout for. The next trend is chunky. I literally just wrote chunky because, again, you know, we were trying to keep this somewhat hard goods friendly, but really what Poshmark was talking about was like chunky shoes. And so I do have a pair here. These are from Tweed. These are not like quite as chunky as, you know, a lot of other shoes, especially from the 90s were. Like you'd have a much bigger platform, but this is kind of in that style. These are like a Mary Jane kind of, not platform, but kind of chunky shoe. I just thought these were really cool. These also are very kind of like dark academia, I would say. That's not a trend that's on today's trend list, but it is a trend that we've talked about a lot on this channel. These I just picked up at a local Goodwill. The leather is a little bit, you know, there are some spots. I'm going to try to gently clean that up if I can, but for it being white, it's in really good condition, and you can see the bottom, like the treads are in really great shape. These are in a size 9.5, 2W, which I think is like double wide, which is great. And Tweed shoes for me do really, really well. And Tweed, I think, does a really good job of, you know, trying to stay on trend. And so I'm not surprised that, you know, I was able to find these at a local Goodwill. But yeah, if you can find those like Steve Madden, like the chunky slides, the platform slides, just anything chunky is doing really well right now. And with that trend, I would say it almost doesn't even matter what the brand is as long as the aesthetic is there. I've seen people selling, you know, shoes by Walmart brands and selling them for like over $50 because one, they're vintage and they're like from the 90s or early 2000s and have that chunky vibe, but also because people just want that look and they don't really care what the brand is. So there you go. So some of these trends really heavily, you know, kind of depend on the trend plus a good brand to carry it. Some of these trends, like chunky shoes, the brand doesn't even matter. If you've got the look, then you're good to go. Next, we're going to talk about denim, and specifically like double denim, just like having lots of denim. Denim on top, denim on the bottom. Again, that really reminds me of Britney Spears, especially that iconic look. I think it was from like the MTV Music Awards, or maybe it was the Billboard Music Awards, back when her and Justin Timberlake were dating and they were both decked out in denim from head to toe. Was not my favorite look, but it's one of those looks that have stood the test of time. So this is like just a pair of jeans that I picked up not too long ago at a garage sale, probably a few weekends ago. It is by a brand that I have never sourced before, not because it's like high end, for the opposite reason. I passed on this brand all the time. But then my friend Chelsea from Monarch Alley said in one of her videos that this brand flies off the shelves for her, and a lot of you agreed. That brand is Democracy. I don't even know where this is sold. I want to say it's sold at places like maybe Kohl's or JCPenney or something like that. I see it all the time at my thrift store. I never pick it up. But I thought I'd give it a shot because, as you can see on this masking tape, I've not really seen this before at garage sales, but you know, whatever works. They had a price to $2. So I was like, you know what? I can try something up for $2. This is the girlfriend style. I also liked the floral embroidery on the jeans, so I thought I would just give it a shot, you know, why not? $2. I'm hoping I can list this for at least $25 and make some money that way. We'll see what happens. But yeah, denim on denim, it's a thing. It's not a thing that I enjoy, but it's a thing. The next trend is leather. Leather, I think, is one of those also timeless and classic trends that, you know, will always stand the test of time. I think this is especially true of accessories, of, you know, things like bags, of things like shoes and whatnot. If you can find something made of real leather, it's just gonna automatically be worth a little bit more than if it were made of faux leather, because the retail value of leather is much higher than faux leather. So, I mean, I think you know what leather is. I think you know what it looks like. I don't have anything on hand right now as far as things that I've recently sourced, but I do have some really great solds that I will share with you. One of my favorite leather things to sell, aside from bags and shoes, are leather jackets. If you can find a nice leather jacket in good condition, those things can do beautifully. So definitely something to be on the lookout for. And I think a leather jacket is one of those things that most people want to have at least one, just like a classic leather jacket in their wardrobe. So if you can find a good one for people to buy for a little bit cheaper than what they'd have to pay at the retail store, that's never going to be a bad thing. The next trend is 70s. And again, you know, we've kind of talked about some things that are already a little bit 70s related and some more trends coming up that are 70s related. You know, we talked about like tie-dye and stuff like that, for example, but just this like retro vibe of the 70s is definitely something that we've cycled back to at this point. I think 70s like prints are doing really well, just kind of those really retro prints. And I think it's a trend that always comes back to when it's festival season for whatever reason. So definitely be on the lookout for anything 70s and retro related. The next trend that I found very interesting was mushroom. Like literally mushroom was the trend. I can't say that I've seen a ton of mushroom related stuff myself when I've been out and about, or even on like my students at school. A lot of times that's my barometer for what's trending right now, is just looking at high school kids. But when I was looking at sold comps on Poshmark, I did see some mushroom print pieces, and I would say there's two camps when it comes to mushrooms. There's either like the very bright and bold and kind of 70s, like psychedelic, like really in your face, almost like cartoony looking mushrooms. I saw a lot of that, and some of that stuff was selling for a good amount of money. You know, like this mother piece, for example, it was like a hoodie jacket. I mean, it was new with tags, but it sold for like $269. There's this brand called LA Soul, and they seem to have a lot of mushroom print, you know, tops and dresses and things of that nature. Farm Rio had a shirt dress of just really bright and bold, very like, again, psychedelic looking mushrooms, and that had sold for $145 new with tags. And then on the other end, I saw kind of more like earthy looking mushrooms, like not so like in your face. You know, like this Anthropologie maxi dress, for example, was a little bit more like, I don't know, it was almost used as like a floral print would be, you know what I mean? It wasn't so like bold and in your face. So kind of two camps. I just thought it was really interesting. I didn't know that this was a thing, but I guess it's something to be on the lookout for. And the next trend that we have is kind of along those lines, psychedelic. So like I said, I think some of these trends kind of bleed into each other. Some of the mushroom prints that I just showed you were definitely psychedelic. You could define them as such. I think psychedelic also goes along with, you know, the idea of 70s. I think you'll see tie-dye with some psychedelic stuff, but we're talking bright, we're talking bold, we're talking in your face. You're making a statement with these pieces, and you'll see it a lot like just on like graphic tees and whatnot, but you'll also see that trend being used, you know, in dresses and in pants, and just people finding really creative ways to use psychedelic prints and just that aesthetic in different ways. The next trend is the exact opposite, and that is pastel. So you go from the really bright and bold psychedelic, you know, vibe to pastel, which is just subdued. It is lighter. It is, I would say, girlier, more feminine. And so I, you know, have definitely been seeing a lot more of this on the runway or in fashion magazines. And you see a lot of pastel, kind of like one tone head to toe looks, which I think is really interesting. Just that monochromatic pastel look, which is in and of itself a statement. It may not be as an in-your-face statement, but it is a statement nonetheless, and I think it's really pretty, especially for spring. Not like the way that you're going to stand out the way that you would in these psychedelic, you know, tones, but still a really pretty way to make a statement. You know, like I said earlier, a lot of these trends are going to kind of overlap with one another, and that is definitely the case with pastel. It's going to tie in with some of the trends that we're going to talk about here in a second. The next trend that we're going to talk about is coastal. You know, when I think of coastal, I think of lake houses, I think of like eating lobster. I just think of like very preppy. I think of things like, you know, jute material. I think, again, this is a very classic, timeless look. I think of brands like Lily Pulitzer and Vineyard Vines. I think of brands like Ralph Lauren. Very preppy, classic, timeless pieces that are trendy now, but like will basically forever be trendy. The next trend that we'll talk about is palm print. I have nothing more to say. A palm print is a palm print. Here's some examples of pieces that have sold with palm prints on them. So look for palm prints, I guess. I don't know what else to say. The next trend I think is very similar, which is tropical print. You know, a lot of people would say that palm prints, you know, fall into that category. I just listed this yesterday, but it is literally one of 3 shirts that I have that are basically the same shirt. This is by Tommy Bahama, which is definitely a brand that is well known for their tropical printed pieces. This is just like a men's polo shirt with some tropical flowers on it, some palm leaves. So I guess it would fall under the palm print and tropical trend or category. But yeah, anything like this is especially great as people get ready to go on vacations, as they go to tropical locations, even, you know, like cruises and stuff like that. This is the kind of stuff that people are buying. I have been pricing my Tommy Bahama polos around $30, and they've been selling for close to that. That's how much I believe I listed this one for. This one was in a size medium. But yeah, anything that's kind of tropical print, especially at this time in like that spring and summertime, is the best time to be listing this kind of stuff because it is flying off the shelves. This next trend is actually one that I hadn't heard of until it came my way via Crystal or Chloe, and that trend is Regency Core. You know, we've talked about cottage core a lot, but Regency Core is kind of a combination of cottage core plus like Bridgerton. So I'm going to read you a little bit about what it said on, I want to say In Style. So there was an article about Regency Core, and they said it's regal fashion focused on opulence. When they describe it, they say lingerie-like styles have become a regular part of our wardrobe, while red carpet pieces, including feminine headpieces and opera gloves, have also become acceptable everyday trends. So they said, in simplest terms, Regency Core is a dressed-up version of cottage core, and some elements do overlap. For example, statement sleeves and corsets are staples in both aesthetics, but unlike cottage core, which is reminiscent of cozy prairie life, Regency Core is inspired by high society, meaning these shared styles should be executed more glamorously. An empire waist dress might be paired with elevated kitten heels and pearl accessories rather than slip-on sandals and floral crowns. But I do definitely feel like I have been seeing this Regency Core look on the red carpet a lot more, as, you know, we've just gone through awards ceremony season. So I get it, I feel like. So this is something that I picked up not too long ago at Goodwill. It is a pair of flats. They're not like kitten heels, and I'm sure there are parts of it that actually are not, you know, Regency Core at all. But I wanted to show you anyway. This is the closest thing that I have. So it is Badgley Mishka, which is a pretty decent brand. I feel like I might have kind of a hard time moving it, but we'll see. They're in a size 9, which I really like. You know, it is made of leather with like this kind of satiny upper, but look at how beautiful with like the little scalloped, I don't know. I just thought that was really pretty. And then it's got this huge like rhinestone thing right at the top on the toe. This one is missing, like part of the rhinestone broke off right there. As you can see, that's the only flaw on that one. But I don't know. I feel like this would work with some of those like really Regency Core type dresses, even though maybe like heels would have been better, but for someone who wants the look and the aesthetic without the discomfort, I think this is perfect. I think these are also perfect wedding shoes for someone who doesn't want to wear heels. So super excited about those. Have no idea how to price them, but I just have them in my possession from Goodwill from not too long ago. The next trend is modern Y2K. So it's the idea of taking that Y2K trend, which everyone is like super crazy about, but modernizing it a little bit. We're seeing things made out of shiny materials, those baguette bags. You remember those like really popular like Gucci bags that were like, I'll show you here, but that's definitely made a resurgence. Tie front tops, you know, it's like the little, you just tie it right here, or I would never pull those things off because look at what I'm wearing right now. It's like a really boring 3/4 sleeve striped shirt. I don't have the balls to wear something like that, but if you do, you do you. Velour tracksuits, double denim, again, we're talking about lots of denim, that like Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake moment. Bandanas, translucent clothing. So, you know, taking the trends of Y2K, but combining them with kind of what's more current right now. And then finally, the last trend that we have is barely there. As you know, we've definitely been moving towards the idea that when it comes to clothing, less is more. I don't subscribe to that idea just because I like being clothed. Like, I like not showing certain parts of my body. It's what makes me feel comfortable. But I'm definitely seeing more and more people just being much more open about showing off more of themselves, that sense of confidence to, you know, bear it all. Like, good for you. Again, it's not something that I personally feel comfortable with, but if you do, good for you. And if you find basically little skinny straps of fabric that people are trying to sell as clothing, buy it, list it, and it'll probably sell for $1 million, even though there's like barely any fabric on that piece of clothing. Those are the trends on our bingo cards. I clearly am not playing because I had like 4 things to show you. But I hope this was a very helpful educational resource for you as you go out and source, so that you have an idea of what to look out for, what kinds of things are trending, what kinds of things are selling, especially on platforms like Poshmark right now. I think some of these things could do okay on eBay, but these trends came specifically from Poshmark, so I think especially over there you'll have a little bit more luck with these kinds of pieces than, you know, on eBay, Mercari, etc. So let me know which trend you're most excited about down in the comments below. Make sure you check out all of the other videos that I will have listed in the description from my friends, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!